Hey everybody, Ben Davis here. You can find me all over the internet as Ben the Wicked. I'm going to call this Take 3. So I'm playing Alice Madness Returns for the third time because every time I've tried to record this game, something has gone wrong. I think all the sound is good now. I think I'm as close to having synchronization as I possibly can. And so I'm just going to give this one last shot. If it doesn't work, I'm going to find a different game because I don't know how to make it how to make the first half hour of this game interesting for myself again. Even though you, as an audience, haven't heard any of the things that I've said about the game, for me, this is the third time in as many days that I have seen the opening of this game. A few things I wanted to talk about before I got started. I'm playing on the PlayStation 3 version. It comes with a variety of costumes and weapons, really fantastic stuff. It also comes with 2000's American McGee's Alice as an HD version. Not much of a game, so I wouldn't say, beat yourself up if you've never played it. It has some elements that are very interesting, but the controls are very floaty. There's not a lot of response to what you're doing in the game, especially fighting enemies. There were boss fights where I spent about a half an hour not knowing if I was doing damage. So, it may not be worth your while to play American McGee's Alice. There were some really cool elements, though. They suggested that Alice, so this is her, American McGee's Alice is the third story in the Alice in Wonderland books, if you will. Obviously unofficial, but that's where it takes place in the timeline. Alice's family has died in a fire. She was badly burned. She's institutionalized, and we see in the opening cutscene that for some reason she is returning to a very corrupted Wonderland. And by the end of the game, Wonderland is restored and we see her leaving an asylum. So there's not much in the way of story, but you can kind of see a version of that story by going into the Past Matters story. It's a short read, but it essentially takes all of the content that was in American McGee's Alice and keeps it in the real world. These are a doctor's notes about Alice, and he suggests that one day she just becomes a normal person. Obviously, she's still haunted by her past, but there's nothing more they can do. She's no longer unresponsive. She is fine. She just one day wakes up and is a normal enough person that she can leave the institution. And we are told that she goes to a halfway house. So now we're going to start Alice Madness Returns, knowing that she has overcome her tragedies in her past and is ready to start a new life in 19th century London with the fourth Alice in Wonderland story. Let's just see how she's doing. I'm going to play it on normal. The difficulty levels stack if you're going for trophies. So if you play it on Nightmare, you'll get all of the trophies for normal and hard. But for this playthrough, I just want to get through the game. I'm going to play it on normal. I could play it on easy to rush through the game quickly, but I do want a little bit of the challenge. So normal is, I think, a good level just to get my feet wet and my hands bloodied. Gamma level looks good on my monitor. It's bright on my television, but it looks as though when you are watching from home, you should be able to see all four of these images. And I always invert my vertical look, so let's dive right in. It should be noted that in 2000, all of the cutscenes were done as FMVs, full motion videos. At that time, that was a way to really show the graphical capabilities of a game without overburdening the engine. So pre-rendered cutscenes were a big deal. But in this one, they went for a far more stylized approach. 2011, this style that they applied to this game makes it timeless. It's beautiful. Let's just watch.
Come now, Alice. It's only a dream.
It's not a dream. It's a memory, and it makes me sick.
Now, focus. Wait. You're floating again. Weightless. A cipher. Relax.
I'm in hell.
Forget it. Abandon that memory. It's unproductive. Go to Wonderland.
I can't. I'm trapped. My past.
No, Alice. Discard that delusion. Forget it. Go to Wonderland.
I'd rather not, Doctor. My Wonderland's shattered. It's dead to me.
Your preference doesn't signify, girl. Now, Alice, where are you?
When we last left Wonderland,
Friend,
it was beautiful and green like this. So
have changed.
we entered Wonderland and it was completely corrupted, but now at least
What's happening?
it looks as though things are relatively normal
Rabbit.
That's not right.
until this happens.
Something's wrong.
This is not normal.
Don't struggle, Alice. Let the
Corruption? It's killing me. Wonderland is destroyed. My mind is in ruins.
forget it, Alice. Drop that dream. Wake up. The sound.
Oh, that's incredible. I love it. The voice acting,
There. Better
the
now.
animation,
It's exploded and there's a steam
just
hammer in my
beautiful.
chest.
Yes, well, the cost of forgetting is high.
My memories make me vomit. What can I...
Remember other things.
I want to forget. Who would choose to be alone, imprisoned by their broken memories?
I'll set you free, Alice. Memory is a curse more often than a blessing.
So you've said many times, and
And I will say again, the past must be paid for. Now, before our next session, collect those pills from our high street chemist.
very well, Doctor.
It's my turn to forget, Alice.
Now, Charlie, your pa was hung for killing your ma who beat you. Let's forget that, shall we? The past is dead, Charlie.
I don't know about this idea of forgetting your past that the Doctor seems to be very interested in. I tend to forget things that are bad memories, and it's just instinctual for me. But I think that's a weakness because there's times when people will talk to me about a situation and I genuinely don't have any memory of it. I think that if you are able to remember your past, even the bad stuff, you're a stronger person for it. And I pause here because I kind of want to look at these really weirdly
Find the door.
animated children. When we're in Wonderland, it makes sense that things are odd to look at, but here in the real world, in 19th century London, it causes me to wonder from an animator's perspective, did they just want to animate these children to look weird like this, or is this more of a statement about Alice and where her mind is at this point in her recovery? Is she viewing the real world like this as opposed to seeing what other people see, which would be a more normal looking London? And I don't have an answer to that. I've never looked into this game that much, so I don't know if this is one of those things where people are going to say, oh yeah, American McGee, this is just his style. He just likes the absurd. But as I look at it, I just wonder if it's just a style thing and that's all he wanted to do, or all the studio and their artists wanted to do, then that's frankly a weakness. It's not a very strong way to put a game together. But I really want to believe that Alice sees these distorted children because that's where her mind is right now. I want to think that if she were to ever recover, she would see a world that we see. Because we look at her, and despite the fact that she is absurdly thin, she looks relatively normal. But then you look at these children, and they're distorted. They're just wrong. Are you okay, little girl? That didn't sound okay, but who am I to judge? Hey, kitty. Kitty, kitty. Where'd you go? There you are. Come here, sweet kitty.
Puss? Puss, don't be afraid.
I cannot wait to say that to my wife and see what she thinks about being called a puss. Puss, 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 puss.
Move along out of section. I can rally you in just for being awful.
Oh, that is brutal. Come here, puss, 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 puss. Okay, kitty's not here. There you are. Ooh. You are quite the looker. I said looker. Don't be putting words in my mouth. Here we go. Come here, kitty. You're a fast one. Alright, this is a little disturbing. Maybe we're gonna jump into Wonderland and get a taste of what we get to see in Wonderland. Ooh. I can't tell if he's supposed to be like a rat or a rabbit or a combination of the two, and clearly his style is catching on. Everybody wants to look like that. Hey, look, it's Miss Elena from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The puppet with the giant nose.
What luck. Twice in as many months. Out on your own? You look frazzled, dearie. You're not doing well? Not really. Come along,
I mean, this is, like I said, this is a timeless animation style. In an age where the PS3 and the 360 were trying to go with super photorealistic graphics, going for a stylized art aesthetic is a far better way to make sure your game will last.
10 years in Rutledge asylum wasted everyone's time. Dr. Bombay won't do better. Still hauling out her questions. The fire, her memory. I deserve consideration, don't I? Who found her new clothes? Who got her a place at Bombay's? Where'd she be without me? On the street, selling her backside. Like some pigeons, though. She's doled out me a pound or two. I know.
Yeah, I love these exposition scenes. I love that it feels like paper dolls. But I hate that this woman seems to be blackmailing her.
Need money. Wound her, I'd tell the coppers if she didn't make make a donation to my upkeep. She yells and goes off her head. This she cannot remember her name, what I heard.
That puts a lot of context into Alice's backstory from the previous game and now. One of the questions I've had is, why does she feel this guilt? Why does she think that she's responsible for the fire? In American McGee's Alice, it makes it look as though an errant coal from the fireplace lit the blaze in the house, and her family was upstairs, but she was downstairs, and she barely escaped with her life. She was sleeping, she was badly burned, trying to escape, but her family didn't know about the fire until it was too late. And it's hard to say, clearly it's Alice's fault. She should have saved her family. But that seems to be what the people in her real life are doing to her. And I don't. I mean, it goes a long ways to explain why she feels this guilt, because that is a beautifully stark landscape. Because even though, we would look at this and say, there's no reason for Alice to feel guilty about this, if she has influencers in her life from the asylum, when she is despondent and unable to cope and react to her treatments, and now she's in this halfway house, but she has these same people telling her that it's her fault, it would make sense why she is still struggling with the memory of the fire.
Nurse Witness, do you mean to harm me? To send me back to the asylum?
I won't say no. I've a thirst you could photograph.
Need a drink. More mouths needs water.
Ooh. Oh, nice. And now we're going to Wonderland, and we can see if it's corrupted like it was in American McGee's Alice. The first time you entered Wonderland, it was just awful. It was full of gore and viscera, terrible to look at. So let's see if things are corrupt again. Awesome. We're in the iconic blue and white costume. Her hair is longer. All of these symbols. And Wonderland is beautiful. Wow. I mean, you've got these floating islands. I don't know what's on the ground down below, but it looks like more green.
Very upsetting journey. But I'm rid of Press, or whatever she's become. At least the place I've landed.
So in the context of the game, this causes me to wonder a couple of things. Oh! The Cheshire Cat.
Blasted cat. Don't try to bully me. I'm very much on edge.
Perfect. When you're not on edge, you're taking up.
He looks so good.
You're no help at all.
But you know I can be.
I'll frighten myself. When necessary, thanks very much. I was hoping to escape from all that.
Abandon that hope. A new law reigns in this Wonderland, Alice. It's very rough justice all round. We're at risk here. You be on your guard.
The Vale of Tears. Yeah, the Cheshire Cat looks fantastic this time around. So let's take a look. He was very ugly in the old game, so I don't know if that's ground down below. It's green, which would suggest like a grassy plain. I love all this stuff floating around. It just looks very pleasant. It looks the way that I left it. Oh, that's cool. Let's see. Okay, no more first-person mode. Oh, that's a snail. He's like stuck inside the marble. That's pretty cool. A cowbird. Yeah. Get your eggs and milk all in one animal. So yeah, I'm a fan of what they did with this style, and I really liked how you entered Wonderland for two reasons. First, because it should always be an event, kind of like the Narnia books. When the children enter Narnia, it's always a different passageway through. Um, Wonderland should always be a visual event entering it, whereas American McGee's Alice, you're just kind of there. At least here, it's like we got to dive through. But because of the way that it brought us here, I'm starting to wonder, is she actually still in London and she's just escaped into her mind? Or did she physically leave the real world and enter Wonderland? So is Wonderland a place, or is it her mental escape from reality?
You're part frog, Alice, I swear. You jump so
Oh, thank you. Let's see if I'm part frog. Hey, Birdie, I'm part frog! Whoa. Yeah, I'd say I'm a pretty good jumper. Nothing that way. Boing. Boing. I think I'm going to go a little bit further. Maybe try to get into a fight before I call it quits. I love that these marbles are not marbles. They're just snails stuck inside of bubbles. Because they look like marbles. They're beautifully animated. I don't know. I like when animators are given the freedom to create art assets that open up the world and give your player a sense of reality. Oh, that's cool. I'm going to talk a lot about American McGee's Alice, and in that game there was a single crying statue of Alice, and it was one of the things that changed when you beat the game. It went to a happy statue of Alice. So the fact that we're back to a crying statue of Alice tells me that despite how beautiful Wonderland is, clearly there's some sort of corruption going on here. I just want to see if there's anything around here. Any other things to collect? Oh, that's cool. As I've said, I have played this section before, but I just kind of rushed through it. I didn't realize that if you failed, it would give you more dominoes. So that's pretty neat. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I just did a triple jump. Hi, little girl who looks just like little girls in the real world. Nothing back here.
If you leap from that table again, Alice, I'll expire. You're 2 times too reckless, my girl.
I really like how until Alice entered the institution, she had a great life. That's something we're shown pretty early, that she is not a suffering child. Her family clearly loved her. Clearly they told her everything, even about poisonous mushrooms. And it would be really easy to just kind of assume that, well, clearly she must have had a hard life. But no, she had a terrific life.
I've been down this road before. Good things in small packages?
Though lacking a bathing costume, plunge in that pool is in order.
My God. I'm shrinking in this potion. Shall I disappear?
Almost. But the upside is that while small, You can see things that are nearly invisible to your bigger self.
Oh, that's awesome.
I get it. Right. Forests for the trees. Just the other way round. Short-sighted is more than a matter of perspective.
I love that you can manually control your shrinking ability. That's fantastic. American McGee's Alice had an interesting game, except that it was the Duchess. The Duchess has a basket, a picnic basket. So you shrank after the first stage, and then you spent like a third of the game. That is some fine voice acting right there. You spent a third of the game trying to find the mushroom that would allow you to grow and continue your journey, and it makes sense for the time, but at the same time, you gotta like sit there and be like, okay, seriously, I get it. I'm small. Do we have to go to another level to get big? Yeah, I got a tooth. So it's cool that you can just shrink and then boop, you're big again. Hey, Mr. Snail. Guarding those 3 teeth. Can I get him? Yep. You're a pretty nice guy. You didn't attack me or anything. Nowhere to go. Using my shrink sense, telling me, go this way. I also love that she hiccups and bubbles come out. I don't know, it's just like a cartoon when characters are drunk in a cartoon and they hiccup bubbles. Okay, there's a knife. They still want me going this way. Lots more snails. Nope, that doesn't eat me. There's a house. There is a house.
I'll never have more fun alone than when I rode the big slide in Hyde Park. Papa will take you soon, Alice.
Yeah, I don't know. It really adds to the tragedy of the whole thing that Alice had such a great family, and for no reason at all, it seems, she's just gone. Okay, those are breakable, but I can't break them. Yeah, I don't have any buttons that'll let me break them. And how do I know they're breakable? Well, because they glow. Things don't glow unless you can smash them. That's what I've learned by working at a video game company. Visual clues. But let's see. Okay, good. I can break those. I kept avoiding them when I played this previously because I was like, I bet I'm going to bounce off of them and it'll hurt. Ooh, that is blood. That is blood. There is a lot of blood, but Wonderland still looks good, minus the river of blood. And that looks like our source. Something that doesn't bleed anymore. Oh no, that's our source. Look at that. Look what's coming out of her eyes. This kind of looks like the Jabberwock.
The Vorpal Blade is swift and keen and always ready for service.
I love this knife.
I've not come back here looking for a fight.
Really? That's a pity. One's certainly looking for you.
So iconic. I love the Vorpal Blade. It's a little bit over decorative, I think, in this game, whereas the previous game it just looked like a carving knife and made her look even more insane that she's just running around with a carving knife. So having it decorative like this I don't know what my thoughts are on that. On the one hand, it's like I really liked. Oh, it went away, faded to dust. Okay.
Flight or fight implies a permanent choice, but flight often just means putting off the fight
Oh,
to another
still
day.
gonna show
Choose
me
your
the
battles wisely, Alice.
the thing. Ooh, was a lot of shaking. Did something break? No. Um. Yeah, back to the Vorpal Blade. I kind of feel like, especially now that she's in this halfway house and returning to Wonderland, and we don't know if that's something that's in her head or if that's just the way that things are. If so, again, if Wonderland's a real place or if it's where she escapes to in her mind. If it's a place where she runs away to in her mind, then the Vorpal Blade should just be a carving knife, and she's running around killing people in the real world. Um, but if it's a real place, then it makes sense that you would have a decorative sword, but why is it shaped like a carving knife? So, hopefully these are questions that get answered. At least I didn't have to fight the rat-faced guy again, so insidious ruin. Focus, and then take some swings. Very nice. I really like the forward momentum of these attacks. Let's see.
Gross and evil in a
Dodge.
single
Whoop.
monstrosity.
Oh, that's nice. They advertise their moves quite a bit, so it's pretty easy to figure out when they're coming at you. But it's still a very satisfying combat system compared to 2000's American McGee's Alice, in which there was no dodge and there were no combos. There was no locking on to enemies. It was just it was a pain. Let's see. Okay, there's a spring mushroom. There's an insidious ruin. Yeah, don't have any other clues as to stuff I should be collecting.
The flower's purpose is simple and immutable. Human purpose is fickle, because it is a slave to memory. Memories must be strictly managed, Alice. Unproductive ones must be eliminated.
Yeah. If you've ever read Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet, Sherlock explains very early on that he removes memories and he refuses to learn things that are not useful in his career. And that was a popular idea, that the mind is limited, that the brain only has so much mental capacity, and I don't know if I believe that. It's just one of those things where I'm like, sure, memories, some of them are replaced and some of them are not, useful later on in life, but to say, oh, your brain doesn't have enough space, you need to get rid of some of these memories, was something I never bought. Okay, so there's a mounted pig snout and the Duchess that away. So what's this away? A bottle! That didn't do anything. No memories, no no memories, no extra teeth. My health didn't go up at all. They look like they could possibly be medicine bottles, and if that's the case, maybe... No, that's a message in a bottle. That is not a medicine bottle. That is something clearly related Well, it's a message, so why not give me a message? Well, alright, so I see a house ahead, and just in case there are any fights coming up, I'm going to call it quits here. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to get through this entire game in this playthrough, and then my personal plan is to come back and clean up any trophies that I missed, any collectibles that are still waiting to be collected. So I'm going to try to get a platinum in this game, but not for this playthrough. That would be tedious and annoying. I'm going to play the game like I play most games normally, which is trying to do everything that I can do in the first playthrough, and skipping things that simply are not fun. If they're not fun for me to play, they're not going to be fun for you to watch, and that's just the way that it is sometimes. So we're going to leave Alice outside of this house for now, and I'll return to Wonderland tomorrow. And the plan is to upload these daily. It's the new year. Might as well start using my YouTube channel more regularly. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this. Once again, you can find me on Twitter, Ben the Wicked. You can also find me on most gaming platforms as Ben the Wicked. I do not play Xbox Live. I have a 360. I will probably play some 360 games in the future. I know I'm boring you, Alice. Stop yawning. I'll probably play some 360 games in the future. My goal is to mostly play games that I've never played before. But if people want to see me play something specific, just request it. And I will also try to read comments and either respond to them in line or respond to them in a recording session. So you can leave a comment if you enjoyed this, share with your friends. Later on, as I'm going through this series, I'm going to talk to some of the artists who work at React Games, the studio that I work for, and kind of see what they think about this. I also have a few friends who are designers at React Games, and I'm going to be picking their brains both professionally and for this channel. Professionally because as a community manager, when a game launches and people, like 6 months after a game launches, you pretty much lose your community unless you have a mega hit on your hands, and so I want to make myself more valuable in the gaming industry by learning design. So I'm going to talk to a few of my design friends and see what they think about the mechanics and the layout and the various aspects that are in this game. So far we've seen very subtle changes to the corruption. So there's visual storytelling going on, and I want to know how difficult is that to put together as a designer, because design is one of those things that encompasses everything. You don't have to be an artist to be a designer, but you do have to know how to talk to artists. You have to know how to talk to engineers and developers, and you have to get your ideas out to everyone, and they have to be able to come back with things that work in a video game setting. So the plan for this series is to cover those ideas, and that's generally going to be the plan for this channel. So I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Alice Madness Returns with your host, me, Ben Davis, and I will be back tomorrow with more. Thanks for watching, guys.